Okay, kia ora folks, we are back here, episode 10 of the AUNZ Music Podcast. Welcome back. Hey team, sorry we've had a little bit of a recording malfunction with Tilly Fenton for the start of part 1. I'm going to still give you the bio and the news digest, and then she'll be joining us to comment on that. Sorry. Today we are joined by Tilly Fenton. We're recording here at the start of November, folks. Probably coming to your ears end of November, so that's how we roll. I'll give you a little bit of background information on Tilly. Tilly is a young indie pop singer-songwriter from Melbourne. Her journey kicked off in 2023 when she took to TikTok to campaign for a spot on Lexi Jade's debut Australian tour. Tilly was handpicked by Lexi herself to be the sole support act, a dream come true and the perfect launchpad for her music career. Since then, she's been hard at work on her debut 5-track EP, which she released at the start of October. It found her collaborating with Australian award-winning writers and producers Anna Laverty and Michael Balsar, and her punchy single It's You got added to the Triple J rotation. So if you're a fan of artists like Lizzie McAlpine, Gracie Abrams, Olivia Rodrigo, or Phoebe Bridgers, you'll love Tilly's vocals and storytelling. Let's move into our news article for the week. We've got from Connor Lockery at the Music Network on October 24th, his article entitled The Community Broadcasting Association of Australia, CBAA, has announced the launch of the Community Radio Airplay Charts. These charts will provide a weekly snapshot of Australian music being played at community radio across the country. The Community Radio Airplay Charts will be available on anrap.org.au, replacing the current download charts. The impact of community radio on the discovery and support of local music will be quantified using automatic content recognition technology. They say, this new tool highlights the value of amrat.org.au as a platform for discovery, provides fresh promotional opportunities for local artists, labels, and teams, and recognizes the essential role that community broadcasters play in Australia's music ecosystem. The CBAA music director, Andrew Kaedori, emphasized the measurable impact community radio has on Australian artists. Between October 2024 and May 2025, AMRAP reported 250,000 plays of Australian music on community radio, tracked via their internal reports. And the December 2024 Community Radio Listener Survey revealed 60% of respondents reported feeling more connected to their local music scene through community radio. Additionally, over 1/3 discovered local cultural or music events via community radio, and 1 in 10 financially supported an artist by purchasing music or merchandise after hearing them on community radio stations. So a couple of questions for you, Tilly. What is your experience like with your fresh career in the community radio space? And how do you feel about the idea of these charts and maybe charting music and awards in general? How does that hit you? Community radio and charting.
I think with the charting, I haven't really turned my mind to it yet because I'm just starting out, but I think it definitely seems to be like a good metric for success in Australia, which I guess is a good and bad thing because, obviously there's the ARIA charts and there could be, an artist who gets in the top 10, which is so exciting for them and so amazing. But I guess as well, it is somewhat limiting because, there's only a top 10 and there's also so much good Australian music that's coming out that might not necessarily be featured on that, which is I guess a tricky situation. But yeah, I do. Haven't had too much experience with it yet, but I guess as well with the community radio stuff though, that's really exciting that they're bringing in that kind of charting because, yeah, like you said, what was mentioned in the article, there's just so many good artists, and to be able to have almost like a smaller community radio like charting system is awesome for people to see what's being played and not just the mainstream music that's being released. So yeah, I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, and it feels like a win-win actually in that community
Yeah,
radios get something out of this too. They become more relevant
yeah,
to
for
these
sure.
metrics that artists like to lean into and emphasize in their
Definitely.
biographies or sharing on socials and stuff. So it's not just about community
Yeah,
radio honoring Australian artists. It will also be an avenue for artists to honor community radio a little bit more. I think that's really
absolutely. It's
important.
awesome.
Um, yeah, the charting thing, I was just curious about that because there's a thing with music where it's like, how do you chart music? It's a funny thing to chart on,
Yeah,
unless it's democratic and it's just like voting systems.
yeah, uh-huh.
How do we judge music? It feels like a weird thing to try and
Yeah,
judge objectively because it's such a subjective art form. We all have our own tastes.
absolutely. Yeah.
How do we decide who's worthy of number one this week? You know?
Yeah, I know it's such a tricky one. Like, yeah, like I said before, there's just so much music being released literally every day, and even internationally as well. There's just like an overwhelming amount of music. So, yeah, it's awesome that yeah, the community charts will kind of give the people that may not necessarily make the super mainstream charts a safe space, and yeah, especially for those community radios as well that are doing so much hard work to support Australian artists. They'll definitely be championed through this, which is awesome as well.
Yeah, have you interacted with community radios nationally or just here in Melbourne more, or what's the vibe?
I think I think mostly just here in Melbourne. I had an interview with Sin Media before, and a few weeks ago I actually did a little segment on Joy FM, which was fun, and I hopped on their show for an hour, which is awesome. So I think mostly just in Melbourne. But yeah,
Nice, nice. Because when I think community radio, I also think, just to give shout outs, Triple R, PBS leading the charge here
yeah,
in Melbourne. And I'm mostly familiar with the Melbourne community radio stations too. I've done
yeah,
some work with both Triple R, PBS, and it's not just that they're supportive of artists. I feel like they're just supportive of everyone who wants to be involved in the music some way or another. Music lovers, you know,
yeah,
they want to
yeah.
create a
It's
space to
awesome.
congregate people around music. And that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, PBS does an awesome job. Like I feel like I see so many cars in Melbourne driving around with a little PBS sticker. It's almost like I don't know where people even get that from, but I always see on cars there's always like the little PBS sticker on the back of their
Yeah,
windows,
well,
which is
I
cute.
know a lot of the community radio stations have a big volunteer base that they pull from, and I'm sure that
Yeah,
this
awesome.
probably comes with a sticker at the very least.
Yeah.
uh, So yeah, maybe it's a little totem, you know. I volunteer for
Yeah, I love
PBS.
it.
Here's my sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
I love it. So good.
Yeah, cool. You also made an interesting point about how national radio stations, um, it's a bit harder for them because they've got this more specific taste that they're trying to constantly almost loop throughout the whole day. A lack of
Yeah.
diversity in their shows, perhaps. Um, But also, it just brings me to the idea, how relevant are national radio stations in our day and age, in your opinion? You know, you've obviously released your EP through streaming services and whatnot, and there's a lot of controversy around
Yeah.
streaming at the moment as well. Almost feels like we're on this
Yeah.
new frontier of trying to find another medium of music listening that's rewarding for the listener, the consumer, because streaming's very
Yeah.
accessible and rewarding for the listener. But now the terms of service are feeling dodgy. AI music's making things murky, and payouts always been a problem. It's always been a problem with
Yeah.
musicians in general. I mean, yeah, how do you
Yeah.
think national radio and streaming and community radio all play towards and the impact they have on an artist's rise.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, with national radio, like it's always been such a big part, I think, of my life. Like growing up, I used to listen to it in the car all the time, like anywhere I went before, you could just plug in and like play. I mean, obviously could play CDs in the car, but you couldn't just open your phone and play whatever song you wanted unless it was on iTunes, maybe. But yeah, the accessibility is like, it's so wild. And I think because of that, radio is definitely not as, I think it's still relevant, but it's, I think the national radio in Australia at the moment definitely plays a lot more international artists than I think, someone or like a radio station like Triple J. Like, obviously, I think they do play international artists, but also they're like at their core, they're supporting Australian artists, which is amazing. But I've been really lucky to have an awesome experience with national radio as well. I do think it does make a difference. I was really lucky enough to be played a few times on the Hot Hits with Nick Kelly and Lauren. And I think that those two are just doing such an awesome job at kind of finding like a happy medium and supporting the artists and the international artists that they would play on national radio. But I think they have been doing such an awesome job at giving smaller artists a chance as well, which is really exciting because, most people listening to national radio in the car, most of the time it would be songs they've heard before or like by something that's, trending at the moment or like a huge song on TikTok or just in the world at that time. So it was super exciting to be able to kind of put that on my resume that I've been played on Hot Hits, which is awesome. Um, but yeah, I think also when it comes to streaming, there's definitely, I feel like there's such a big thing about looking at the number of streams and measuring success on metrics, which is a really tricky thing. Like, I know for me, as soon as I put something out, whether it was my EP or the singles that I released before that, it's so easy to get in the loop of like going onto Spotify for artists and literally every hour just refreshing and refreshing and almost trying to gain some validation from just numbers, which is definitely a hard thing because obviously for me it's something I've put so much work into with my music, and then for it to just be uploaded and you don't necessarily see success straight away. So I think, yeah, streaming's a tricky one. Obviously it's awesome for so many people all around the world to be able to listen to your music, but I also sometimes try to take a step away from the numbers and just think about like the community that I've built and not just be like, oh, I've got like this many streams on this song. And just kind of, it's a good like grounding exercise, I think, because it's wild, I think, to see how many people listen to your song and I guess decide whether it's going to be a good or bad day for you. So yeah, I think it's important to step away from like the numbers, even
Very
though
wise.
it does still matter.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it is a tough balance. You're right, and yeah, that is a very
Yeah.
mature stance to have on it because it's not just streaming, is it? It's like this is sort of the age
Yeah.
of counting impressions, engagement
Yeah.
stats. It's all across social media
Yeah.
too. These are things that as artists we're monitoring as well. Like, oh, what hit, what didn't, what was the best time to do this? My fans seem
Yeah.
to like this, they seem to like that, yada yada. It's all
Yeah.
data, and it's quite not. It's
Yeah.
not just like a validation seeking thing. It's actually just exhausting too, because it's a lot to
Yeah.
process.
Literally.
How are you
Yeah.
meant to process all that
For
data and
sure.
actually integrate it into actionable next moves? Which is why I
Yeah.
asked about the charting thing, because there's something about
Yeah.
charts which is also kind of that number counting thing, right? There's something
Yeah,
similar
exactly.
to it.
Very similar.
Um, and so there is a bittersweet love with such things. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
complicated territory.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you expressing your experience with national radio. I think it is important
Yeah, of course.
to reflect on the past and how important they were for our upbringing. And I think
Yeah.
you're right. I still think most people who listen to national radio will be car listeners, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, they are sort of like the stations that curate not just music in Australia, but internationally, whereas community radio seems to lean into,
Yeah.
community music, relevant
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
community they're in.
Yeah.
So they have more spaces in their, airwaves that they can fill with Australian music, whereas national radio,
Yeah.
if there's so much music in Australia,
Yeah.
my lord, there's so much music
Yeah.
in the world. What is it? Something I think it's over
Yeah.
100,000 songs have been uploaded to Spotify alone every day.
That is
So
crazy. Yeah,
how?
it's so
How?
overwhelming.
And the
But yeah,
craziest
I
thing
think
is
they're
it's
doing a
not
really
gonna
good
slow
job
down.
balancing.
It's just gonna keep
Yeah,
going up.
exactly. It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah. On that note, let's listen to one of your songs. Cool. I'm keen.
Let's
What
do
do we
it.
got? This song is called Your Plans from the debut EP. What's the name of the EP? Could you tell everyone?
Yes, it's a feeling that I know.
It's it's a feeling that I know.
It's
Nice.
a
Cool.
feeling that I know.
Great. Great. And this is her song, Tilly Fenton's song, Your Plans. We're gonna listen to it, team. Have a little listen here. Go check her out. If you want to hear the full song, you can find it on all the local platforms and maybe some community radio too. Haha. See you soon.
I thought I knew my worth, but you made me doubt all the things my mom warned me about. If you tried a little more, smile coming through the door might not have made me feel so bad. I bet you thought I'd stay, keep treating me this way. I ruined all our plans. I ruined all our plans.
And we are back, team. Your Plans from Tilly Fenton on air with us right now. How about that? Aren't we so lucky we get the full inside scoop today? Tilly, I am curious. Tell me when and where, or if you have an image of when and where you wrote this song. Where did this song come from? How did the creative
Yeah.
act occur?
Yeah. So this actually was written like halfway across the world in London about, I think, over 2 years ago now. And my manager, Chelsea, and I, we flew to London for a little writing and recording trip. And it was my first ever time co writing with anyone and doing sessions in a studio, basically. So things were all very new. But I was working with Anna Laverty and we had a session, just us two. And yeah, I kind of brought some ideas to the table about grieving this sort of relationship, and I hadn't written about it yet, and this was the first experience where I was like, let's write something about it. And actually, funnily enough, I really wanted the end of this song to turn angry, but that was kind of when we probably stopped writing it about halfway through, and that was kind of what we did for the day. And then it took me probably 6 months to come back and finish off the rest of it just on my own, I think at the start of last year. And we decided that we could take that angst and start writing It's You instead, which is kind of what we did. Um, but yeah, so I wrote this song quite a while ago, and finished it off at probably the start of last year. I kind of wrote the chorus and the bridge was, I think I needed like a bit of time to write those verses and then kind of just grow as a person, and just yeah, it kind of took me a few months to figure out exactly what I wanted to say. And yeah, and then once the song was like pretty much done, I took it to my producer Michael Belsar and he worked his magic on it. And yeah, just like I feel like I barely had to even show him any references. He just like heard the song, started playing some piano for it, and it all came together pretty quickly once we started recording it, which was pretty fun. But yeah.
Do you write with just vocals then, or do you have a harmonic instrument that you use to support yourself?
Yeah, so usually I write with guitar. So that's what we did on the day. And then but I also play piano. I'm classically trained in piano. I started when I was like 6, I think. So,
Oh wow.
funnily enough, I actually find it harder to write on piano. I think because I grew up being taught to read the sheet music and
Yeah.
play the notes on the page. It's
Yeah.
actually I've grown out of it a bit now, the last year or so, but it's definitely something I had to work on, and I think it was a lot easier because I started just teaching myself guitar in COVID, and it was a lot easier to just listen to chords and be like, "Oh, well, that sounds nice. That's just gonna be the chord," instead
Yeah.
of, like, being way too in my head about it and being too,
Yeah.
"Oh, but this is this inversion and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Theoretical. It's a blessed curse.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, literally.
cool, cool. And did the lyrics seem to flow out for this one, or did you have to mine them out?
I think I think it was probably a bit of both. I think when I first started writing this with Anna, I think it was a little bit hard to get some lyrics out, but I think for me, the way that Anna and I worked best was I would usually explain her or just literally tell a story. And I think for me when I first started songwriting, I was really in my head about wanting it to be super poetic or just more than it needed to be. And I think
Mm.
it took me a while to be able to realize how to put my like how I would actually tell a story just in conversation and to then be able to translate that into lyrics. I think I just when I first started writing, yeah, it was just way too in my head about it. And it was like this needs to be more poetic and I could just say it how I've literally said it. So I think that was what was awesome about working with Anna is that she would just write down little notes about how I was telling the story. I think that probably was how the line, "How did you make me feel that bad?" I probably literally just said that and she wrote it in like a little Google Docs. And
Mm.
then once we started kind of playing around with the guitar, I think I would like just have the what she'd written down in front of me and kind of just try to sing along and then other ideas would kind of come to mind. But I definitely think when I started writing I think it was the chorus or kind of the end of the song, I was sitting in my room and I actually, funnily enough, quite a few songs that I finished, like Valentine and Your Plans, I actually was doing a gig, I think in March last year, and it was a solo acoustic gig. And at the time, I probably only had about 30 minutes of original material and I had to do a 45-minute set. So my manager was like, "We have to finish these songs." And I remember being super stressed out about it and being like, "Oh my God, there's like a week there's like a week left." And essentially my goal was to finish the end of Your Plans and write a whole brand new song. And I remember I definitely think I had a bit of a writing block at the time and I was like, oh my God, it just seems so daunting and scary to be like, I have to finish these songs and write a whole brand new one. But I ended up having just like a bit of motivation when I think it was just I was literally about to go to bed and I got my guitar out and I think I probably ran through what was already written of Your Plans, which was kind of the verses and everything. And then I did a bit of journaling, which also is just another way to help get my thoughts out onto the paper and then be able to see them as I'm kind of singing along melodies and figuring out lyrics. And that's when I definitely think the chorus kind of just like flowed out, which is the line, what is it? But you won't even see half of what you did to me, and you will never know all the help I had to get to let you go, which is that kind of section. And then I showed it to my manager the next morning, and she was like, "Yes, oh my God, you're the
Mhm.
best."
Yeah,
So
it's
that was
cool. I
definitely
think
a
I think
nice,
it also shines the light on there's value in deadlines with these sort of things too. It can
definitely. Yeah.
unlock this sort of dormant creative energy that was waiting to be released, even when we're sort of
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I think the whole block, the writer's block thing, can be a narrative you start to lean into a bit, and I think deadlines are a
Yeah, for
great way
sure.
to just cut that because you're like, well, I don't have a choice. It
Yep.
doesn't that narrative isn't
Yeah,
serving my
exactly.
end goal here. I've got to get this
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, literally. And I think it's so hard to find a good balance between that. I
Mhm.
think for me, at the end of 2023, I finished my uni course and I was studying music performance. And in that, I kind of like majored in songwriting. So that was something where almost every week I was kind of writing and just like flexing that muscle and like getting better at it. And I think that's actually where The Secret, my first ever single, that's literally was started off as a uni assignment. And that was one of those things that I just had to get done. And it was literally like, I think it was like a sense writing exercise. And it was just like write like A and a B section. And that's kind of where the verse and chorus for The Secret started, which is really cool. But then at the start of last year was when I didn't have that structure anymore. And I was kind of
Hmm.
out of uni doing music full time. And it's so hard to, you know, I think it's definitely easier to wait for inspiration instead of pushing yourself, because you are trying to get out of your comfort zone, and it is uncomfortable at times, especially when you're sitting down trying to write a song and you're like, I literally have no idea. So I
Yeah.
definitely think having structure is a really good thing. And I think, as I'm kind of writing more going into this next era after my debut EP, I've been kind of having sessions where we'll just like book in a few days with my producer, and it's just like we'll just start a song at the start of the day, and just the aim of it is to get as much done as possible. So I think that's also nice, just having somewhat of a deadline. I definitely
Yeah,
think it's good
totally.
to just like push yourself sometimes and just
Yeah.
like force yourself to actually lock in, because you never know
Yeah,
what could come of it.
for sure. I
Yeah,
A group of my music friends, we used to do Tuesday songwriting night, and we would do these things called an
awesome.
hour of power, and it would be you've just got to finish a
I love it.
song in an hour, and we would make prompts and would almost purposely make prompts to make it less serious, because a big part which can block
Yeah,
you from
absolutely.
finishing a song is that you want it to be a every song needs to be the best possible song, and
Yeah.
it actually doesn't. It actually doesn't, and you'll sometimes find
Yeah,
along that path of, like, not seeking perfect, you find something that's just right. And that's I remember
100%.
we did one that was like, we've gotta write a song, the chorus has to be in 3/4. It has to have one key change in the bridge. It's gonna start
Oh
in
my
the key
god,
of
I love
B,
it.
and the lyrics
Yeah.
have to be, relevant to all Adam Sandler movies. And that was that was the
That's so
prompts.
good. I love it.
And it was fun and quirky
Yeah.
and silly, and it wasn't an awesome song,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah,
But it
exactly.
was fun.
Exactly. Like, yeah, giving yourself, like, those restraints, I think, yeah, because that's what I definitely had at uni, and we kind of were learning how to write for a brief and stuff like that, and I think it definitely just helps to get a song out. And one of the main things I remember learning it while I was at uni was, I can't remember which teacher, but someone said that there's kind of, I guess, like, if you look at it like percentages and statistics, there's like 90% of songs that are just like not good. And then you have like your 10% of songs that are like your really good songs. And if you don't just keep writing, then the 10% isn't going to get any bigger. And obviously, that 90% of bad songs, you got to get that bigger, or just write as many songs as possible to be able to reach the that 10% of better songs.
So true.
Yeah,
It's the
which is
classic,
interesting.
gotta keep throwing shit against the wall until something sticks.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
Which is
no,
tricky, but
mhm.
it's good. It's always worth it once you get to that good song and you're
Well,
like, "There we go."
that's the work. That's the work of the creative, right?
Yeah,
The idea, I think when I
yeah,
think about a prolific songwriter, is I think of it's that person who can't not write. They're pouring out of them
yeah,
all the time, and they
yeah,
don't really care. They don't really judge them. They're just sort of happening.
yeah,
I think there's always a time for
mhm.
refinement, but that's a different stage than the
Yeah,
creative act.
exactly. 100%.
Um,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
speaking of refinement, I just wanna turn back to, some of the production
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
your plans. Michael, did he make all the instrumentation choices, or do you guys do that together, or how do you guys go about production?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a very collaborative process. We also, in the creation of Your Plans and my debut EP, we had, my drummer, Ben Ellingworth. as well, and he is just like, even though he's technically like a drummer, he is also just so creative,
Mhm.
just musically, and he has
Are you
always
trying to
had
say
just like
drummers
such a
aren't
good.
creative?
No, absolutely not. I think it might be almost like a common like misconception that's like, oh,
Totally.
like you're a drummer, but it's
Yeah,
like I feel like drummers are always listening to everything else at the same time,
yeah,
and I think that's just really cool. So no,
yeah.
I feel like it's
Agreed.
always drummers write the best songs.
Mm,
Like, anyways, but yeah, so we had Ben in the mix as well. So most of the time it was just us three in the room, and I think Michael definitely takes the lead when it comes to instrumentation, but it's an interesting because I think Michael just gets me, and it's like it's almost like not like spiritual, but like he will literally do like or put in or have an idea of exactly what I want without me even having to say it out loud. I
mm,
think like he just knows me so well, and working together is just like so much fun, and I feel like we're very intuitive with it, and we never are thinking about, oh, is this going to do well for this audience. We just create how it feels, I think. um so yeah, I think it was most of the instrumentation was kind of came from him, but he would always be like, oh, like what are your thoughts on this, or what are your thoughts on this kind
mhm.
of this synth
Yeah.
sound. And yeah, it was definitely very collaborative, and yeah, and Ben had so many awesome ideas as well. I feel like there's one maybe acoustic guitar part that Ben put in your
Oh,
plans.
yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a very collaborative process, but it's just so much fun working the three of us. I love it.
Well, I feel like it would be fair to say that that's a spiritual relationship. That anything that
Yeah,
involves
I think it
intuition
is in a
seems
way.
to fall into the spiritual realm for me, 'cause
Yeah,
I don't really have a better way to describe it, you know? Like,
yeah,
what else is
literally.
that?
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool. I
literally.
really liked how the drums enter in, verse 2. The delayed drum
Yeah,
entry, that's nice.
yeah.
It's
Well,
cool.
that's all Ben's magic. And I think
Yeah.
funnily
Nice.
enough, I think your plans was actually one of think I mean, I won't speak for Michael and Ben, but I think after we recorded this, they both were like, this is our favorite song.
Yeah,
Which I
right.
know Ben said to me before, it's funny that it's the song that he plays, like, the least amount of drums in, but I
Mhm.
think for him, that's where he gets to, like, listen to everything else, which is really cool.
Yeah, well, playing the
Yeah.
least amount of drums is a creative choice as well because it's leaving space. That's
Yeah.
also a choice of a
Yeah.
drummer, is it's about when
Yeah.
to emphasize and what to emphasize and when just to let
Yeah,
things
for
breathe.
sure.
So, yeah, that
Yeah,
is a creative
absolutely.
decision. Was he drumming on all of the
Yeah.
tracks?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then Michael played all the instruments?
I think mostly, yeah, I think we had I think for most of the songs Michael does is like a wizard at all the synths and everything. Amazing guitarist, amazing bass player. Actually, the bass part is one of my favorite parts of Your Plans. I think Your Plans is like a very dreamy song, but the bass is
Mhm.
actually quite punchy. And I
Mhm.
remember Michael having heaps of fun recording that, which was fun. But most of the time Michael will do most of the instruments, and then I'll usually do like a bit of piano, bit of guitar. And then we also just have so much fun when we're tracking vocals and doing BVs. I
Yeah.
think I think especially in Your Plans, the BVs are a huge element. And we have that kind of like at the end of the verses, there's like the how did you make me feel that bad? And it has like a little echo with the BVs, kind of like arpeggio thing. And that was really fun to create because they're all they're all different. Like the timing comes in. I think the first one is just like normal, and then the second kind of line or like BV comes in like earlier than you would expect it to. But we
Yeah.
just had so much fun doing the BVs, even for the
Yeah.
whole EP. It's just again like such a collaborative process. So
Yeah.
I love it. So much fun.
I agree. BVs are fun to do. Like, it just is that cherry on the top. It feels like it pulls everything
Yeah,
together, makes everything sound crisp.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, in terms of the recording phase, it's really what gives it, some zap, some energy. I don't know how. It's
Yeah.
like, I guess you don't really
Yeah.
get to hear it like that until it's recorded, eh? Like when you're writing the song,
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
only sonically predict the BVs, but then when they're actually
Yeah.
there on tape, you're like, yeah, something beautiful about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been so much fun working with Michael on it. Like, I think before I started working with him, I felt like just tracking vocals in general was I felt like it was more of a chore. And I was like, "Oh, I have to sing now." Even though I love singing so much, but I think there's like a good and bad side of recording vocals, especially sometimes I can be such a perfectionist. And when you're talking into a mic and you can literally hear every single thing that's going on, it is like hard not to get trapped in that bubble of, oh well, let's just keep going until it's like literally perfect. But I think, yeah, Michael does a really good job at directing me and being able to kind of be like, okay, let's do like a few more takes of this. And then he'll be like, that was the one. Or funnily enough, it's usually
Yeah.
we always end up using like the first take
Mm,
or like the second one. And it's
interesting.
always the one that's never thought too hard about, which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Even if
even
they're
like writing, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say there's sometimes some touch-ups I find, like those first 2 or 3 takes normally capture the general sentiment of it, and then for me at least, then there'll just be maybe a couple of little phrases that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, maybe we'll just redo that one." But you're
Yeah,
totally right, you can get
exactly.
lost in the perfectionism of it, and
Yeah.
it helps just having someone there to be like, "That's good," or "That needs to be we
Yeah.
could get that better. I think we can get it better."
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
just to
Yeah.
keep you out of your head a bit, externalizing those
Yeah,
self-doubt,
absolutely.
and sometimes, like, you do some when you're tracking vocals, you'll do, like, a quirky vocal thing that you didn't even mean to do, and it's not perfect, but
Yeah.
there's some sort of feel in it that you're like, "Actually, yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. I'm with it."
Yeah. I feel like there's actually been a lot of that, um, just in general writing with Michael, like, some of the newer stuff that we're working on together, there's been I think there was one song we wrote a few months ago, and it was literally Michael, I think, was already bouncing the audio, and we had, like, a verse kind of section, but not a chorus yet, and then I was just sitting on the couch, and usually, like, when I'm in the room with Michael, I'll always just be, like, humming along to the song because I just love to sing, and it's just fun to be able to, like, or whatever,
Mhm.
and we were listening to the intro and I just hummed this little thing and he was like I was literally like on the couch super far away from the mic and he was like, "Do that exact same thing again. Just do that again, put the mic a bit closer and do it again." And it's literally now the intro of the song.
There you
And
go.
yeah, it's just so much fun. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, those creative moments, it's cool, eh? Where does it come from? Who knows?
Yeah,
It's
who
beautiful.
knows? All the spontaneous ones are the best.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, normally we do, talk about artist development more directly, but I feel like we've just interwoven it into the
Yeah,
songwriting practice as it is. But before
literally.
we close out this podcast, if you had any, like, direct artist tips for other artists on the rise or things that you've noticed that you think would be valuable information to share,
Yeah.
please indulge us.
Yeah, I think for me, I did not realize how much patience I would have to have for this just project as a whole. I think I always think about if I had told myself, say 2 years ago, that I'd only just released my music now, I probably would be a bit disappointed. But I think some advice I would have is just try to be as patient as possible and remember that it's okay to take time and allow the music to just sit and just be able to like breathe a bit before putting it out. And I think that's something that I've had to do. I think it took a long time for me to kind of just understand what I even wanted my sound to be. And for a long time, I didn't really know what the vision was, or I did, but there just was always something that didn't feel 100% right. And I would just say to trust your gut because I feel like, we talked about intuition before, but I think just trusting your gut is something that's so important. And if something doesn't feel right, or if you don't like it, just remember, like, this is your project and it's your music. And if there are other people telling you it should be like this, if that doesn't feel right to you, just remember to like stick your ground. And yeah, like, it is your project at the end of the day. So you do want to be super proud of it. And yeah, so I think don't be afraid to take time and don't rush it is something that I've definitely had to learn. And I would say my last piece of advice would just be to stay true to yourself and just be yourself, because I think that if you're yourself the whole time, I think that just comes across really well with your music. And just surround yourself with people that just want to lift you up. I think that's really important, surrounding yourself with people who just want the best for you is super important. So yeah, I feel like that's probably, hopefully that's good advice and help
I
someone.
like it. Patient, intuitive, trust, community. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it.
absolutely.
Cool. Awesome.
4
Thanks,
words of the year.
Tilly. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Tilly, so much for joining us today and giving us some key insights into the industry and your practices. If people want to keep in
Thank you
touch
so
with
much.
your journey, where can they do that?
So, I mean, my music is up on Spotify and all streaming platforms. It should just come up as Tilly Fenton. And then on Instagram, my handle is tilly.fenton. And then I'm also on TikTok, which is where I post quite a bit of content. And I think my username is Tilly Fenton, but the O of Fenton is like a 0, like the number. So yeah, that's where you can
Creative.
find me. Super creative.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. All right. So Insta, streaming, and TikTok, folks. Go check out Tilly Fenton. We're going to play the song out here just to give it another little zap. Your plans. That was episode 10, team. I think we're done for the year with the AUNZ Music Podcast. We're going to have a little break for December, and we'll be back next year with some more artists, industry heads, and whatnot to fill in the holes in the Australia-New Zealand music scene. Until then, ciao ciao, take care.